Hi everyone, welcome back to another unboxing. My name is Felix.
I'm Ken, and today, as you can see, we are completely decked out in Raise3D gear because we're going to be doing something special with Raise3D.
We're going to be unboxing the Raise3D E2CF, which is the carbon fiber variant for the E2.
That's right, we already have the E2, it's something that we love, and this version is specialized for printing carbon fiber.
So let's get started.
All right, so as you can see, it comes with something extra. When you get your E2, you only get this box, but we're gonna get some dry boxes as well. We're gonna be unboxing these just after we open the main event.
Let's do it. Oh, fresh printer. Love the smell.
Awesome. Well packaged. This is the first time we're opening this.
Yep. So a few things you can see off the bat different with the E2 is there's no doors.
No doors, there's just a gasket on this side where the dry boxes can feed directly into the printer.
Yep, okay. Let's take this down and then lift it up. Let's take the box down first.
Oh, you want to take it down?
Yeah. And then we'll prop it up. And you're definitely gonna need 2 people to carry this because this thing weighs 35 kilos.
Yep, that's like 70 pounds.
All right, top cover.
So we got some different visuals versus the E2 as well. There's some more red highlights. And also, of course, the hot ends are now really bright red, so you know it's made for carbon fiber.
Yep. Let's get this thing unboxed. We're gonna have to undo these screws over here.
The good thing about Raise3D printers is they ship them overseas internationally, so they're packaged extremely well. But it does mean that you're not gonna be able to get them apart super quick.
That's a good thing. I'd rather have a good printer than a broken one.
Yeah. And we're just gonna fast forward this a little bit.
Yep. There you go. All right. Close this guy for a second. Nice, so this is the accessory box, and we hope to see some filament in here.
So as you can see from the front, it actually looks almost exactly like an E2. You've got your magnetic build plate that you can take out.
It's flexible, so easily pop off your parts there, slide it right back on.
You got your nice large touchscreen here, and we'll just peel this right off. Woo!
Nice. So a few things, you get a whole bunch of sort of accessories. So you have heat-resistant gloves if you really are in a hurry to take out your parts. A couple extra tubes to guide the filaments. What do you have over there?
So I have the PA12CF, and that's nylon 12 carbon fiber. So this is going to be your main printing material for this printer.
Yep, and I have the supports for that material.
Yes, and it's important to note that with this printer, there are exclusive profiles that are made specifically for these materials and some other carbon fiber materials coming down the line from Raise3D.
So here are all the accessories here. You got a couple nice I Love Raise3D stickers, a few spare parts. You got a couple fuses in here, a couple more fittings, and a USB stick, which I'm gonna assume has some test prints on it. So we'll keep that handy. What's that stick there?
So this is a Magigoo stick. So it's going to be made for PA, which is nylon. That's what we're going to be using to print with. So very nice that we get this to use as an adhesion aid. Something that we recommend on a regular basis anyway.
For sure. You get a spatula to remove your prints. Tweezers? No.
Yeah, tweezers.
Tweezers.
Yeah.
And a calibration card. And that's it.
They have the nicest calibration cards because they're metal.
They really are. All right. So we are good to actually start printing, basically.
Yeah. So should we unbox the dry box now?
Yeah, let's do it.
Okay. So you get 2 dry boxes, with your E2CF. This comes separately from the printer, but it's included when you buy the printer. And it's very important to have this because when we're printing with nylon carbon fiber, it tends to absorb a lot more moisture than some other materials out there.
Yep,
and you want the best performance, by having nice dry filament.
Which is also the main motivation for them using PA12 as opposed to sort of the regular PA6 that you see around, because it's a lot more moisture resistant, which means that A, it's going to absorb moisture less readily, less fast, or slower. And also you're going to see more consistent material properties between sort of the dry state and the wet state. So even when you print your part, obviously moisture still gets absorbed into your part, so it's going to be less of a, it's going to have less of an effect on your part material properties.
So I gotta say that these dry boxes are really, really nice. They kind of look like mini Pelican cases.
Yep.
With the nice Raise3D logo. They lock together, and I will just open this and show you what it looks like inside. So you're able to put your spool in here and replace the styrofoam. And as you can see, it spins really, really well.
It actually comes with a user manual, so maybe let's give that a read.
Sure thing. But I'm pretty sure that you open the desiccant and you kind of put it in these two boxes here, and it keeps the filament dry.
Yep. Basically. Yeah,
Okay.
Those are the instructions.
Perfect. So let's do that. And it comes with the Bowden tube inside here as well. So Felix, a lot of customers already have the E2 or we're already looking at the E2. You know, is this just a simple carbon fiber version of the E2?
You know, in simple terms, yes, but in other words, also no, because they sort of are giving you all the tools that you need in order to print carbon fiber. So you're not just sticking a spool in there and hoping for the best, because carbon fiber is nylon carbon fiber is hard to print, absorb moisture, it's abrasive to everything that it touches, right, including the tubes, the gears, the nozzle. So this printer is specifically made to withstand all of that abrasion and, you know, extra wear. And it's made with a good quality parts, and yeah, so this is, if you're just gonna be printing with carbon fiber mainly, you should definitely be considering this.
So Felix, you know, I've printed in PA6 carbon fiber before on FFF printers, but have you had any experience printing with nylon 12?
Yes, so we print nylon 12 on our Fuse one, right? And those parts come out amazing, right? They're 100%, almost 100% isotropic, right? Because the Fuse one is an SLS printer. The parts come out looking good, and the material properties of them are extremely good as well, which is why it's the main material when you're printing with SLS, PA12.
So I think that's something that we can expect with this material as well. It is a much more costly material versus PA6CF, but I think the benefits and that industrial type of filament that this is and the industrial print that we're expecting to get should be worth it. But we'll see.
Well, we'll see. We do have a couple of sample parts in here, and they look great. I think we compared them a little bit against the Mark Forged, and they look just as good, and they feel just as strong. So something to consider if you're looking for a carbon fiber printer.
And the other benefit of carbon fiber is that it's so light as well. It's not a very dense material, so you can get very lightweight, very stiff and strong parts. So the PA12 filament comes in like this, shrink wrapped in foil. This is 1 kilogram. And just as a comparison, you know, 1 kilogram PA12CF is quite expensive. It's about $240.
Okay.
So it is much more industrial. And here we are. This is PA12CF, 1.75 millimeter diameter. A 1 kilogram roll. You actually get a lot for this 1 kilogram roll because it's so
light. Yeah,
light. Exactly. Printing temperature is 280 to 300, so that is at the top end of the range that most FFF printers can be printing at. And this printer is expected to keep printing at that price, at that temperature range. Yeah,
for sure. The maximum temperature, speaking of that, the nozzle is 300 Celsius. So the nozzle can print up to 300 Celsius, and the bed goes up to 110. And you can do this continuously with the closed chamber, which really goes to show about the sort of the quality of the parts, because most printers, especially the cheaper ones, will probably not be able to withstand that type of heat inside the chamber.
Yeah, I think the bed can go up to 110 degrees, and that's what is going to be passively heating the rest of the chamber to maintain that temperature in there. So Felix, you know, we're using PA12CF right now, and that's the main material for this printer. Do you know of any other materials coming down the line that would be exclusively designed for this printer?
Yeah, so we have a couple more that we know about. We have the E2CF, so a little bit of a sort of weaker, cheaper alternative, but it's still way better than, you know, regular PET in my opinion. And we also have PPA, which is a performance nylon, again with carbon fiber, and I feel like I'm forgetting one.
I think it's PPA glass fiber as well.
Glass fiber, yes. And so you have quite a bit of options, and the nice thing about this printer is that it's all ready to go for you. You don't have to tweak any materials, you don't have to install any spare parts or any new parts. It's all there for you.
So what have you got there? That one's pink.
Yeah, so that's just a pink carbon fiber. No, I'm joking. This is the support material. So it's not soluble, it's breakaway, but it's specifically designed for the PA12.
So now that we got our dry boxes ready, we can put our filament in and insert the bone tube. So take care not to release your filament too quickly and then it untangles all over the place.
Definitely don't want that.
And remember to install your little metal brackets on the side.
Right. And we are I kind of use this the best. All right. Okay, we're basically ready to print. We just need the power cable. There you go.
Yeah. And close these guys up.
We put it behind here. Plug in the printer.
So the one thing we just realized now is that these do sit right beside the printer like this, but we didn't leave any space in terms of our setup. So I think we'll have to rejig this and just kind of shimmy it over a little bit. Now we have space to put our dry box right beside it.
All right, so I'm gonna open this guy up. I'm gonna have to undo this Bowden tube inside the head to load the filament in. So let's talk about some of the features that we got on this printer. So we have a filament sensor, we got a power power resume function, so if power ever runs out, you're good to go. Realistically, you don't want to let it go too long without power because especially on bigger prints, nylon will tend to warp. So the possibility of resuming, depending on the part that you're printing, might be a little bit lower, but it's there for you if it only goes up for a few minutes.
Right. You get a nice colorful touchscreen in the front. I think it's a 7-inch.
Yeah, 7-inch touchscreen. So we're gonna go through the setup here. So we want English, but there's quite a bit of languages here. Click on start. Welcome to your setup.
Also want to mention that if you're in different regions and not in North America, that it comes with pretty much any cable for your region, all inside. So I guess if you travel with it, I don't know if you would, but if you do, you have that cable with you.
So the setup screen is really good. It's asking me if all the locks have been removed, and they have. That's a really good check because if you don't remove them, you'll probably break something. So are you sure they all have been removed? Yes. So right now you hear a little bit of noise as the Z-axis homes. It goes all the way up, making sure that the printer is level, that the X-axis is level rather, and then you're good to go from here. So you don't have to manually level each side. Perfect. Next.
And in terms of this extruder, it is made specifically for carbon fiber and abrasive filaments. There's two hardened metal gears in there.
Yeah.
So it won't wear down with abrasive filaments.
Yeah. Oh, it will wear down, but like over a much longer period of time. So you got the driving gears. So you have a dual extruder, a dual gear setup, which drives the filament from both sides, as opposed to just one idle side, like some other printers, and you have a hardened nozzle as well. So that all comes in standard with this printer.
And I guess you'll know that because it comes with that red enclosure for that hot end.
Exactly. So right now it's asking us if we want to set up Wi-Fi. We're going to skip it for now, but you can set up over wireless network or Ethernet. There's a port on the back side.
And there's also a camera built into the E2CF so that you can monitor your prints remotely.
Yeah. There are a few safety features on this machine. So for example, now I have the option to enable or disable this feature, but if you open the door, if you want to enable this, it will pause the print. Or if you open the top cover, it will also pause the print. So good if you have a setting that calls for safety. So we're gonna just disable it because we are advanced users. Then we have a whole bunch of other settings here. We're just gonna click skip. So the nice thing that Raise3D also has is something called Raise Cloud. So you can connect any of their printers, Pro 2, Pro 3, E2, E2CF into their cloud system, and you can monitor it all from one dashboard. So either on your computer, or I personally like the app, you can monitor each and every printer that we have, see their cameras, pause prints, start prints, so it's really, really useful. And we are actually good to go. So now it's gonna boot up and probably ask us to load some filament, and we'll start the print.
Yeah. So Felix, I want to ask you something about IDEX, because it used to be that the E2 was the only IDEX printer in the Raise3D lineup, and now we have this as well. You know, what are some of the benefits, and are there any drawbacks to having IDEX, printers?
Yeah. So let's talk about the benefits first. So 2 separate nozzles that kind of work independently of each other. That's the IDEX system. So one is usually your base material. So in this case, it will be the PA-CF, and the other one is your support material usually. And this is a good thing because there are some printers where you mix kind of 2 materials into 1 nozzle, so you don't have any cross-contamination here. You don't have lifting nozzles, right? So one head parks, the other one is working. That means that as material oozes out, it's not going to ooze out on your part as it's printing. And so those are kind of the good benefits about it. And then there is sort of the only thing that the IDEX can do, which is duplication and mirror mode. So you can actually load in, PA-CF on this left head and the right head, and print the exact same part on each side, essentially giving you like sort of the ability to print 2 parts for the price of 1.
2 benches at once.
2 benches at once, right? So that's like having 2 printers in sort of the one enclosure here. And you can also do left hand and right hand print. So if you're printing, a left hand part, right hand part, you don't have to design it. You just load it into the software and it does it for you. That's a great feature.
And in terms of downside, the only thing I can kind of think of is that the printer becomes wider and it's a bigger stance and takes a little bit more desk space because it needs extra space for those heads to park on the side.
Yeah, some people would say that it adds weight to the axis, but this thing is built like a tank. So, it's kind of engineered to support the system. Yeah.
I also like how Raise gave us all the access from the top, and from the front. Like you can easily access all of the hot ends and gears in there if you wanted to. Makes it a lot easier than just going around to the back and so forth.
For sure, for sure. And this is kind of nice too. You can put it anywhere you want. Well, almost anywhere.
Yeah. But one thing I just noticed is that, there's no window on this dry box. So what's going to happen when I start running out of filament? How am I going to know?
So there's actually a filament runout sensor in this machine. So it's just going to pause, wait for you to come back.
Okay.
Which is great.
That's awesome.
Yeah. So let's go over the setup. Let's load some filament in. We're going to have to do some calibration. And we're going to click on start here. So the first thing we're going to do is calibrate the left hand offset for the nozzle, for the probe. Click on next, and we're just waiting for it to do its thing.
So Felix, I just noticed that there is some circuitry in here. So is that where the filament sensor is?
Yeah, so the filament sensor is right around sort of the side of the printer.
Okay, so I think that's beneficial because we know that the filament is starting to run out before it falls into the head, right?
Yeah, it makes it a lot easier to remove as well.
Right,
like
true.
if the runout sensor was on here, you might have some issues with pulling out the filament or accessing it. This is kind of nice. You do sort of waste a little bit of filament, but
I think
it's not a big
short
deal.
amount.
Yeah, it's a pretty short amount.
I'd rather not lose my print.
So right now it's asking us to have the calibration card handy, which is right there. So basically what we're doing with this calibration step is making sure that both of our nozzles on the left and right side are on the same height. So we're going to use this feeler gauge. All right, so right now it's asking me to slide this under. Go right there.
Ooh, you can open all the way.
Just gonna get in front of it. Okay, so it's pretty far away. So kind of like regular bed leveling on an Ultimaker or any other printer, you just want a little bit of resistance, and that's all. Click next, confirm the nozzle has been lowered, yes, and we're good to go. So it's asking us to set up the filament in the boxes and feed it in, so we've already done that. We're just gonna click next.
I do appreciate how they have a little video to show you exactly what it's done. We should have had that open when we were doing it.
Okay, so the nozzle is just heating up right now, and then Ken is going to load in that filament.
Sounds good. So you do get a pretty wide range of motion with this door as well. If you got the space, you can open it all the way.
I think there's actually is there a protective cover on this one? Yeah, there is.
Yeah.
Keep it on. Keep it fresh.
Yes.
I do really appreciate the kind of the hand holding that they're doing. Like if you have never touched this printer before or know anything about this printer.
We didn't read the instructions.
Yeah, we didn't even read the instructions. We do have experience with the E2, very similar to this, but if you're a new user, it's all there for you.
Yeah, and if you already have an E2, this will be extremely familiar. The only thing that you'll notice the difference is kind of where the filament sensor is and, you know, where the storage capacity for the E2 had in terms of their own filament.
Yep.
And just a quick note with entering the Bowden tube into the dry box. So it does come up the side, not the front. Initially, we thought it was kind of where the front was, but that's the venting port for the case. And make sure you push your Bowden tube in all the way and it'll kind of lock into place.
Mm-hmm. Let's talk about some more features that it has. I think we mentioned mostly everything, maybe except the filter. Right? So this also comes pre-installed with a filter, so it will filter out any of the harmful particles from 3D printing, which is great for safety.
Yeah, it is a small filter, so that means you'll probably have to change it out a little bit more often than if you have a large filter.
That's the filter right here, but they're pretty cheap.
Yeah.
Yeah, they're pretty cheap. And it takes some time until you really need to change it.
Yeah, I think the good thing is like you'll also physically see that it starts to get dirty and it'll be time to change that filter.
All right, looks like we are good to go. So it's gonna lift up a little bit, the gears are gonna engage, and you're gonna push it in.
Sounds good.
Go for it. Until you feel it catch.
We'll just open the door so you can see.
Yeah, and you can just, you can actually lock the Bowden tube in.
And I can feel it catch, so now I'm locking the tube in.
And we're just waiting until a little bit of filament comes out.
And so far, I'm detecting no resistance with the dry box, which is really important.
Yep.
Because we don't want it to be pulling filament out of that dry box with resistance.
All right, that looks really good. I'll click OK. Please make sure the filament has been extruded from the nozzle. Yes, it has. Perfect. So now what the printer is going to do is print a bunch of patterns for us, and we're going to choose the best one. So that we're kind of fine-tuning it even further to make sure that our first layer is really good. And this is actually on top of the bed leveling probe. So before every print, this thing is going to probe around the bed, actually around only where you print your part. So if you print your part, like a small part in the center of the bed, it's only going to probe around there. It's not going to go around the whole bed, which is really nice, saves a lot of time.
And what's the practical effect of us probing all the different points on the bed?
Yeah, so nothing is perfect, right? No surface is perfect. So even though it looks level and nice, it probably has some sort of like variations in the surface. So the probe goes around and sort of puts that into the software, and then as the head goes around the bed, it will kind of lift up just a tiny bit as it's printing to get that perfect first layer. All right, so right now it's heating up the bed, and this is going to take about 10 minutes.
Coffee break for me.
Same. All right,
and we're back.
All right, so that took about 10 minutes to print, and there's a pattern ready for us up here. We're gonna choose the first pattern that doesn't have any light leaking through it. So to do that, I actually need a spatula to take off the pattern from the bed.
Which it comes with.
Which is right here. So we're gonna take it off. I gotta say, the bed is extremely magnetic, where this thing actually takes some power to wield. So we're looking at the pattern, and the first pattern that doesn't leak is this guy, which is pattern number 6. Wow, they make it really easy. Now choose 6. And we are good. Next. Okay. Now we're gonna do the same thing on the right side. So we're gonna load in our filament and go from there.
So Felix, how do you like that magnetic bed and the build tack sheet?
I personally like the magnetic bed. I think it's really easy. You can pop it off and on. I like that it's flexible. The build tack, for me, not my personal favorite. Right. I really like the glass a lot more. Okay. Even though it's not flexible, it's a little bit more harder to take prints off. Right. But for some reason, I find that I have a little bit more success with it. Right. But every build tack sheet, they sort of improve on the technology over time, and I think that it's at a point where it's just as good. It's just a personal preference for me. Right, yeah. So you do eventually have to replace those build tack sheets. But, exactly. You know, with glass, you have to be a little bit more careful because you can't bend it. You can chip it, you can break it, which I've done many times. Right. So there's pros and cons to both. So the good thing about this calibration is that you really only have to do it once, unless you're changing nozzles very often. So once you do it once, it's actually good to go for a very, very long time. Okay, so we're doing the same thing with the card. Sliding it under, right there, going down. So you can really fine tune this. I mean, you have a 1 millimeter step, 0.1 millimeters, and 0.01 millimeters. So you can really get precise on this. All right, we have set it properly, yes, and we're gonna load some filament in. I do like the red accents on this a lot.
I do, yeah.
Yeah.
I love that cover for the hot end.
Yeah.
Looks kind of like SLS.
It feels like it.
Yeah, like red dye SLS
Yeah,
nylon.
red dye SLS nylon. All right, so that's heating up to 280. We're gonna load it in, do another one of those patterns that we did here, and I think at the end we're gonna print two color, sort of like a dual calibration print, and that's gonna be the last thing we do.
Awesome.
So I think, how do you like this experience so far?
I'm loving it. I mean, other than the fact that it's a pretty heavy printer, so you gotta have two people and some space in order to do it. I think it's very intuitive, easy to use. I'm very confident in the build of the machine. Like, there's no wobbling, it's built strong, the doors feel super sturdy and smooth. So I think, I mean, just from feel-wise, you know, I'm extremely confident, even though I haven't printed anything yet.
Yeah. We will see. I like that it's tuned for carbon fiber, because I think a lot of printers that we use, you know, like you kind of have different material profiles and all that, you know, really most people print with PLA, right? PLA, PETG, things like that. So it's kind of tuned a little bit more towards those materials. You know, 80% of the people are printing with that, but this is just for carbon fiber. So I'm excited to see what this can do.
And I think for longevity purposes, you're not going to worry about this printing carbon fiber, because if you were to put a hardened nozzle on the E2, which you could, and print some carbon fiber, you don't have those hardened gears. And so, you know, long term, it's going to start, you know, degrading some of the parts in your printer a lot faster than it normally would. Can we talk about the price a little bit? Because it is going to be a little bit more expensive than the E2. So it's at $5,850 Canadian dollars. The E2 is $4,300 approximately. So, you know, a little bit of a chunk of change, but you know, not even all the way to where the Pro 2 used to be. So that's still extremely, you know, affordable.
And it's, you know, the E2, the regular E2 is great for the price, right? It's like $4,600. You get a massive build plate, 330 by 240 by 240, which is actually the same build volume for this machine. But even at 50, what did you say, 5,500 or so? 5,800. Like, this is still a great deal. A great deal. You get it ready to print carbon fiber, and you don't have to worry about anything, right?
And I think most of the time we'd be comparing this to more industrial printers, because the filament is more industrial, the breakaway filament is more industrial, and it's kind of tuned for that industrial print.
We are ready to load in. Gonna wait for it to leak out a little bit.
I think the other good thing I like about the unboxing process is it comes with everything you need. It comes with, you know, gloves. It comes with Allen keys.
Tweezers, spatula, filament, everything. It comes with some spare parts that actually tend to wear quite often. You know, the tubes and stuff, it all wears down eventually. So it's great. Or if you lose one or cut one by accident, which I've done. Nice. All right, we're good to go there. Yes. Perfect. Okay, so we're gonna close this up, walk away for 10 minutes and come back.
And look at that, it's only been 1 second of fast forwarding.
All right, let's take out this pattern. Here, you try.
All right, can I just
So you gotta, no. So, no, don't bend it.
I'm just kidding.
That's not the instructions. So you're gonna peel it off nice and easy from there, and then just kind of grab it and put it to the light. Other way. Yeah. That's it. The rest you peel. Oh yeah, that's some good. That's fine. So this really sticks really well on the plate. That's some good material there. That's it. The rest is not really, we don't really need the rest. You can just pull it out.
Let me just quickly give it a little.
So we're looking for the pattern, and it says it on the screen, the pattern that doesn't, the first pattern that doesn't have any light shine through it. So grab it. I would say it's the bottom left.
Yeah.
Yeah? All right. I'm gonna choose bottom left, next. Great. Now we got bed leveling. Put that in there well. Nice. So bed leveling, next, next. Remove these little filament edges on here. Quite a long process, but it's worth it. It's worth it. You do it once, and you don't really have to do it again unless you change your nozzles or drop your printer on the floor, which you probably won't because it's really heavy. And you're not going to be doing this ever again, right?
And it's actually not that bad. We just kind of walked away, got some coffee, got a drink, talked to some people, and came back, and it was ready.
Yeah. Yeah, so I think all in all, it says that the whole process is a 1 hour process. So expect it. You know, some of our printers here, you know, just kind of pull out of the box and you're ready to go. This is a bit different. You know, it's a more complex system. You know, there's a lot going on. Automatic bed leveling. You have the 2 different independent nozzles. We got to make sure that everything is set properly before we print, especially with this more expensive material, right? You don't want to be having failures on these machines.
Exactly.
Right,
it's more costly to have failures with these materials, but the result of these materials printing perfectly is worth it.
So it's done with the bed leveling, and it's showing us sort of the flatness of the bed. So here everything is green, and there's very little deviation. What sometimes can happen during shipping, or you know, things happen, or as you sort of use the machine, there are sort of these springs that clamp the bed down. And if the level is really off, like let's say it was sort of, instead of flat like this, it was like that, you can actually adjust it manually, rerun the bed calibration. It will tell you where, you know, maybe you did it perfectly the first time, maybe not. It will tell you where to adjust it. In this case, it's really good. Like I have no complaints about this, so we're good to move on.
Now, does it matter, you know, what the type of surfaces that we're putting the printer on, you know, in terms of bed leveling?
For the most part, no. I mean, I doubt that this cart is super level.
No.
Right? You want to put it on a pretty sturdy surface, right? You don't put it on a really wobbly table. But for the most part, if it's not level, it's not a big deal. Unlike resin printers, for example, where it's really important to be level. So I think the last thing here is the right nozzle XY offset. So we'll do that. So basically here we're going to be checking, you know, where in space the left nozzle and the right nozzles are, so that if we're printing something right on top of each other, say like a cylinder outside and another small cylinder on the inside with the different nozzles, we're actually, the center of those cylinders are in the same spot.
Right.
So important to do here for, you know, dual material printing and obviously support as well.
For sure.
So it's going to take another 10 minutes, so I think we are okay to walk away and come back.
Great.
All right, so
Looks
we
like it's done.
are done with the XY calibration. So we're going to pull it out. It's a pretty easy to follow pattern. Maybe you can view it up there. So we're just going to match the line and tell the machine which lines match, which is a pretty simple task. I don't know, 2 from the center to the right.
Looks
Number
like
2.
Yeah, we're doing X or Y first.
X.
X. Yeah, 2 right from the center, I think.
Okay, and then Y? So flip it this way.
Would be thinking also 1 right from the center.
1 right?
Yeah.
Okay, done. Okay, so that's the XY calibration. Now, I think I'm gonna skip the cube. So there's actually a cube that prints at the end with two nozzles to make sure that we actually did the process. Yeah, that we actually did the process correctly. But I've done it before, and if it's pretty straightforward. Usually you can stop here. So we're gonna skip. Yes. Okay, so now the printer is ready to go and print whatever it is we want it to print.
Awesome.
So we're gonna go and dive inside this USB stick and just kind of print one of the sample parts in there. So click on print. We're gonna go USB storage, USB. It seems there's a whole bunch of test models and test G-code. And we're gonna go for whatever this is.
I think is that.
Oh yeah, okay. So it's a dual
here.
extrusion test, which is actually a great print to run. So we're gonna click on print. Please download the latest version of Idea Maker. So it seems like the firmware in this is out of date,
Right.
possibly.
So we have to update our firmware.
So we have to update
So we
our
have to connect
firmware.
to Wi-Fi.
Indeed. All right, we're in. Click on update. Online update. Oh. Okay, so there's actually a different issue here. So the firmware is up to date, but the sliced file is out of date. So we're gonna have to pull out the computer and slice a
download the
file.
new one.
Yes,
Yeah,
yes. Okay, so I'm gonna go grab my laptop.
Okay.
All right, so I went to my computer, sliced the file, and actually sent it over Wi-Fi. So we don't have the USB stick inside here anymore.
Cool.
Took no more than 2 minutes. So I actually sliced this file for breakaway supports.
Awesome.
So the print time here is around 2 hours, which is not bad.
And just as a preview, the reason why we need the breakaway is because this doesn't sit flush.
It has a little
onto the
step.
bed. I mean, you could print it this way, but you still need some support on this side.
Yeah.
So it's a great way to test the breakaway support. So I think at this point, it's fair to say that we have properly unboxed it and we've started our first print.
Yep.
And it's just about time for us to wait for it to finish.
So let's talk about the unboxing experience.
Sure.
What are some pros, some cons from your perspective?
Yeah, from my perspective, I haven't unboxed a lot of Raise printers, but it's been super easy to do. They pretty much guide you, and we barely read the manual
Yep.
to get started. So very intuitive to put it together, and it was packaged extremely well. And that's the first thing I noticed. And then of course, it's build quality as well. The printer is just super solid. It's rock solid here on the table. And I love how everything is basically protected from the elements.
Yeah, I mean, my main thing is to set expectations for yourself, right? It's not gonna be sort of take out the box and finish and you're good to print, right? There's a whole bunch of setup that needs to be done, but you only have to do it really one time.
Yeah.
So spend some time to save time and have perfect prints with carbon fiber. It's an expensive filament, right? So we wanna make sure that there's almost zero failures.
And because of this expensive filament, this is really geared more for industrial purposes that need that PA12. Felix, what would you recommend, verticals or industries that this printer would fit well into?
For sure, like carbon fiber, nylon carbon fiber is made for more demanding applications. So places like, automotive shops or just automotive in general, aerospace are gonna really benefit from these parts, light and sturdy, strong parts. You're gonna have prosthetics, right? So nylon, what's nice about this is that it's not like completely rigid. It has a little bit of give. So, prosthetics, for example, would be another good application. In industrial shops, manufacturing facilities, you need end-of-arm tooling, some replacement parts that can replace aluminum. This is cheaper, faster, easier. Anybody can do this.
Yeah.
And lighter.
Yeah.
Right.
And I think also impact resistance is a big thing as well.
Yep.
If I were to drop this, it's not going to do anything to that print.
Yeah, I mean, we know some people with, they work in a manufacturing plant and they literally have forklifts to drive over these parts. Right. So, and they don't break most of the time. Right.
Yeah.
So that's a great thing about impact resistance with this material. Other than that, the world's your oyster, right? This 3D printer, you can print whatever you can design. So anything from, end-of-arm tooling to prosthetics to anything else that you can imagine, you can print on this printer.
Yeah, I think it's a pretty wide range, even though it's kind of focused on carbon fiber. We still have a good plethora of applications that would be well suited for. So Felix, just to sum up, the E2CF is brand new from Raise3D. So there is a little bit of a lead time if you want to get one, so make sure you pre-order. They are going out fast, and we only have limited supply, and it does take a while to get here.
And I just want to add, they do come fully certified right out of the box, so you don't have to do anything with that. Just take it out of the box, run through the setup, and you're good to go.
Awesome. So this has been a great unboxing. Thank you for joining us. My name is Ken.
My name is Felix. Till next time, this is Shop 3D.